So, welcome. Welcome to our webinars from home series this Friday morning for us. We're tackling quantity takeoffs today in the Bluebeam review software. My name is Harry Potter. I'm a software training specialist here at Bluebeam, and yes, that is my name. We're based out of Pasadena normally, the bulk of us, specifically me, but all of us are currently working from home like we know a lot of you are. And we recognize it's going to require some learning on the fly, learning how to engage, particularly in an industry as collaborative as ours is. That's really challenging. And so we figured that the least we can do is kind of provide that resource to you. We recognize that a lot of the ways our customers learn our software is through kind of chatting with coworkers around the office over the cubicle, and we lose a lot of that now, and we feel the pain of that as well. And so we thought we would make ourselves available on that daily basis to be able to answer your questions and go over some things with you. So with that, we have heard that a lot of people want to know, hey, I have a friend who wants to get to know this, a coworker who wants to kind of gain some of the knowledge I have, and so we are offering these courses on a rolling basis. Now, the courses are up here. We go over the kind of the markup basics on Monday. We go over some drawing management on Tuesday. We cover our studio, that collaborative online platform, and that cloud storage on Wednesday and Thursday. And today we're going over some basics of quantity takeoffs. So if you are looking to rehash your knowledge, if you missed something today and you want to go over things again, we offer that on that weekly basis. And if you have friends, coworkers who want to jump in as well, we have all of our social media platforms up there that people can absolutely hop on and get on to this train. We also recognize that material is going to come in fast. It's only half an hour. We recognize that's on the quick side. And so if you're looking for a deeper dive, we encourage you to check out our training resources at bluebeam.com. So with that, for those of you just joining us, welcome. If you have questions, hop into that GoToWebinar panel. My fantastic team at Bluebeam Global Services is helping me out answering those questions today. So feel free to ask that. Global Services, we're the training area of Bluebeam. We're the people that are tasked with helping people get the most out of the software that we hear over and over again that people really only get a small percentage of the software. So we're here all the time, and we're here today to help you get a little more out of that. So with that, let's hop into the agenda. Today, we're going to take a look at the Takeoff Profile. We have profiles in Revu that you kind of customize your layout of your screen, and the Takeoff Profile and a profile that we've created is a good example of how to get the most out of what you see on the screen. We're then going to get into calibration, why that's important, how to tackle it, and the various ways you can set a scale on your drawings, which is really important and in some cases vital before getting underway. We're then going to get into some basic measurement markups, how to place them, how to customize them, how to use them, and in addition, how to use them in a tool chest. We covered the tool chest a little bit on Monday, but it's really important here as well. And then finally, we're going to finish up looking at the markups list, why that allows us to get more out of the takeoff process and how to start using it. So with that, let's hop into Revu itself. The one thing you're going to notice when I'm hopping into this software is that my screen's going to look a bit different than what you're going to see when you open the software for the first time, and that's because we have changed the profile. So right now, we're in a slightly modified profile from the quantity takeoff profile. So the way you find profiles is up here in this review menu. You're going to click on that and then go down to profiles. So we have a quantity takeoff profile in Revu. Most of you just starting off the software you're going to be in this default Revu profile. And the quantity takeoff profile starts kind of customizing your screen to better set up the takeoff process. But we've made a couple other changes to this takeoff training just to be able to show you things in a little more clarity. Now, the change that we've made, we've started with this markups list open. Now, this is where all of the data that you put on your drawings is going to be kept, collated, and allow you to sort, filter that information, So we have it open, so I point it out. I'm going to close it right now. The way I close any panel is by just clicking on that bar right there. But I do want to point that out because we're going to keep coming back to it. And we have the tool chest open because it's really, really important to have the tool chest, because when you're placing these markups, when you're placing these measurements, these are going to be markups that you're going to use over and over again. When you're placing the carpet of a floor, the carpet of a single room is less helpful than all of the rooms together. And so without having to remake that tool every time, it's really important. We also moved the measurement tools up here to the top. These are going to be in a toolbar that allows you one-click access to them. And the way you know they're measurement tools is that they have that little purple ruler around them. And so those are up here at the top. So those are a couple of the changes that we've made to the takeoff profile, and just a little showcase that you can change up the profiles as you want to make them work better for you. So with that, let's jump into the takeoff process. So the first thing we need to do before we start a takeoff is setting a scale, because we basically need to tell Revu what the scale is and how it's going to measure things with us. And so if we look down here in the bottom right, that's going to be where our scales are located. And right for starting, we see that the scale is not set. So if you're in 2019 and you were to place any measurement tools, I'm in 2019 right now, it's basically going to require you to set a scale. If you're not in 2019, if you're in 2018, a little earlier, it's not going to require you, but it's going to cause some problems. Your measurements are not going to show up correctly. But in 19, I need to set a scale first. So I can just click on this set scale not set, and it's going to prompt me with two ways to set my scale. I have the option of calibrating, which basically uses a known measurement, or I can input a scale manually. So this is where I'm going to set a scale, but I do want to point out where I'm going to get my measurement tools today. Now, I pointed out that I have these toolbars up here at the top, but in this case, I move my toolbar up here to point it out that I can have kind of access to it to make it really clear. But I also can access my tools from this tools menu, go to measure, and I have access to all of them right here as well. Now you're also going to notice a series of keyboard shortcuts over here to the right. These are basically a couple keystrokes that let you quickly and easily jump right into a tool. So you have access to toolbars, this menu up here at the top, and the keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to operate out of this menu here, just because I know that you will always be able to find it here in 2018 and 2019. You may have moved your toolbar around, as I have, so I'm going to make it really clear you're always going to be able to access it from this menu right here. So with that, let's jump into the calibrating process. So if I'm coming down here and I need to kind of figure out my scale before that, I see that I have right here at the bottom of my drawing that the scale is 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So I'm going to come in here to my scale. I'm going to come here to this input area, take a click on that, and here is where I can choose my scale. Now there's two ways that I can do this from the manual input. I can either pick a preset, and Revu has a number of presets that you can see right here. The top is going to be your imperial, and if you get to the bottom, these are going to be your metric scales. So I can set them. I can set that 1/8 of an inch equals 1 inch. I also have the ability to put in a custom scale. So if your scales are a little bit different than the presets, you can absolutely come over here to that custom tab and put that in. Precision, this is basically going to allow you to set how precise your measurements are. In this case, we're going to set this to 1 just for our use today, but you can set that however you wish. And then page range, this in 2019 allows you to set a page range for a single page or a single sheet or multiple. So if you know that your scale is the same throughout every page in a document, you can totally set that page range. If you know that there's a different scale for different pages, you can set that as to just the current page. And we also can come in here, we can click that calibrate button if we need. So I'm going to hit apply scale. And the way I know that it's been applied is now you see that scale not set down there is now 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. Now I need to test my scale. The way I test my scale is by placing a length measurement and ensuring that my scale is correct. But before I do that, I'm going to show you how the calibrate process works. So the nice thing is that anytime I've set a scale, if I want to reset it, I can come in here and I can click on that as well, and I can get that same dialog. So I'm going to click on this calibrate right here, and I'm going to show you how calibration works. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to get a little pop-up. Now, it might be tempting. We get a lot of pop-ups in a lot of our programs throughout the day. It might be tempting to just click out of this, click that do not show message again. But I'm going to encourage you to keep that open just as a reminder for the first few times when you do this process. So this is going to say select 2 points of a known dimension to calibrate the measurement tools. So once I click OK, it's going to put me in the calibrate tool. You're going to know you're in a tool because you see my cursor has changed to those 4 lines. And when I hover over content, you're going to see, it might be a little bit difficult to see, but I have a little blue box. And that's because the calibrate tool is a measurement tool, and so it by default snaps to content. So the way calibrate works is I need to pick a known dimension. So in this case, I know this is 16 feet right here, set in my drawing. And I'm basically going to click 2 points, the start and the end, and tell the software that that is 16 feet. So I'm going to left click first on this left side, and then I want to click on the right side. But the problem that I have right now is that if I'm going up a little bit right here, and I want to ensure that I'm going in a nice straight line because it's 16 feet going straight. The way I do that is if I hold down Shift. So if I hold down Shift, it's going to lock my cursor into orthogonal directions. So I can ensure I have a nice straight line. Click on that, and then I can input this right here. So Revu measured that 2 inches right here, and it's going to ask me to put in that length right there. So I know that is 16 feet. If you are dealing with metric units as well, you can set some metric units here. And if I set my metric units here, that's going to put your document in metric. I'm going to keep the same precision and page range, and I'm going to hit apply scale. Now I have that scale set here, and now I can get to testing this out. I can use my length measurement to test and verify my scale. So I'm going to come up back here to this tools menu that I pointed out earlier. I'm going to go to measure, and I'm going to go to that length measurement. Now the length measurement, I can tell I'm in that length measurement because you can see my cursor, those 4 lines with that ruler. So I'm just going to verify this, I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to left click on one end, and you can see as I'm drawing a length tool, it actually dynamically shows me that length right there. I'm going to hold down Shift, I'm going to click on the other side, and I can see that, yep, 16 feet, that my calibration is good. I verified that measurement, and now I can get undertaking my drawing. Other thing you may notice is that I don't have that pan tool. I still am in that measurement tool. That's because our measurement tools are by default in reuse modes. Once you use one, it's going to prompt you to use them over again because we know that our customers, for the most part, are using the measurement tools back to back. Whenever you don't need it, just hit that escape button and you'll be back to that regular cursor. So again, as I mentioned, if you're in 2019 and you don't set a scale, when you go to place any of these measurements, Revu is going to prompt you to set a scale. If you have a measurement that is 0 feet, it's probably in 2018 or earlier, and then it's important to set a scale to ensure that that measurement is shown correctly. So with that, let's hop into this and we'll start placing a couple measurements. So I'm going to come up here to this office right here, and I'm going to get the carpeting area of this. So the way I do that, I'm going to grab my area tool. So I'm going to come here again to this tools menu, this measure, and I'm going to go to area. Now again, whenever I know I'm in a measurement tool, it's going to be that ruler and those 4 arrows, and we can see that it's snapping to content just like before. So the first way I'm going to show you how to place this area tool is very similar to the area, just placing a rectangle on a drawing. So I'm going to click on this corner here. I'm going to click and drag. So left click, hold, and drag to pull this over here. And you can see just like my length that I have a dynamic unit updating as I pull to this size. And I'm going to release. And I have that 121 square feet right there. Now, the awesome thing about 2019 is that all of my modifications and all of my changes that I can make to this measurement tool are up here on this properties toolbar. So I can change them, I can modify them right here. So I'm going to hit escape so I can start modifying this measurement. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here to this drop down, and this allows me to change my subject and my layer. And this is one of the really awesome things about having this tool chest, is that if you notice, I already have a couple tools right here, and these tools, I have the subject and I have the label. The subject is kind of the general category, so I have flooring and base, and my label is the specific of those. So I have concrete, tile, and so now that I'm modifying this, I'm going to add some carpet. So the subject I'm setting is still flooring, and subject is a dynamic category, so you're able to change it to what you want. In this case, we're changing our subject to the kind of general category, and we're changing the label to the specific. So this label I'm going to set at carpet 01, but again, you can have this flexible to your project needs. I'm then going to customize the look of this, because if I placed a bunch of measurements that are all red and white, it's going to get confusing as to what they are. So the nice thing with customizing the properties is you can customize them and be able to see visually exactly what you're looking at. So I'm going to change this line. I'm going to change the line color. I'm going to leave it because I'm going to set my line weight to 0. I'm going to just change the fill. So I'm going to change this fill to a light magenta. I'm going to add a highlight so I can see the content beneath. I can have the option of showing segment values. So if I zoom in a little bit here, pardon me, I can see GoToWebinars freaking out a little bit on me. If I zoom in a little bit and I highlight this, I can show segment values. So if I wanted to see each of the side lengths, I could. I wanted to change the units. I could apply a depth or a slope in here. And if I go over here to this show caption, I could add a little more information. So I can show the length, the volume, the depth if I wanted to. So again, even if I place an area measurement, I can get a lot more data from that if I need. But I am going to change the text here. I'm going to change it to a dark purple. And I'm going to add this to my tool chest. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to go to add to tool chest, and I'm going to add this to my training takeoff. Now, the another cool thing here is you might be thinking, well, Harry, your carpet label is over kind of on top of that office, and it's kind of difficult to see. And some of you may have even asked that in the question section, and it's actually really simple. If I hold down Shift when I'm hovering over this label, you're going to notice that those 4 lines and arrows have moved once I hold that Shift down. I can then hold Shift and left click and drag, and I can move that label anywhere I want out of the way. So now that I have that label kind of good to go, I can now come in here and see the item that I added to the tool chest. And again, the nice thing is that what this allows me to do is not have to change that customization every time. So if I want to then apply this, let's say we want to apply to something a little stranger. We want to apply this, that same area measurement to this Office 112C. It has a little of these corners here. So I can just left click on this tool to reuse it. But the problem is that right now, not going to do a whole lot of help. It's not the same area. But the nice thing with any tool is, I'm going to hit escape here, is that there's 2 modes to it. There's drawing mode and there's properties mode. Now, I was in drawing mode before, and drawing mode basically creates an exact copy of that markup. But properties mode, and I can access it by double clicking it, saves all of the properties, but it allows me to redraw that markup. So it's going to save the subject, it's going to save the label, it's going to save all of the colors and all the properties that I've changed, but it's going to allow me to make it a custom size. Now you also may be thinking, well, the other problem, Harry, is if I click and drag, I'm going to have an issue with this corner. And you're absolutely right. And there's another way of applying an area measurement, and that's by clicking the points. We call it the rubber band method. We call it that because it's basically like stretching a rubber band over a strange object, your wrist, some pegboards, etc. But basically allows you to pick the points, and it's going to stretch that area measurement over the area. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to left click here. You can see that I still have that snap to content on by default. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to basically click my points, and it's going to start stretching that rubber band over it. Click my points, and again, you can still see, it's a little bit difficult to see right now, but in the middle of this right there, you can see that area kind of dynamically changing. I'm going to click here, and then I can either kind of click on the point I started with, I can also double click to finish it off, and then I'm good to go. Again, I'm going to hit escape to hop out of this. I see I have the exact same properties. It's the same color, and I can always hold down Shift and click, and I can move my label around. Now I pointed out the measurement list before. I'm going to go over it again, but I do want to show you that the nice thing is that it is kind of keeping a tab on everything that I'm creating, and it's organizing it together. So that's why I made sure that I had a subject and I had a label, because it's basically a way for me to organize my markup. So all of this carpet, all of the flooring is being organized, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But anytime I place a markup, it's going to dynamically add to that markups list. So I'm going to show you one other markup tool that we have. I'm going to add some wooden base over here. And I actually have two ways of adding base. So if I come up here to my tools menu once again, I have the poly length and the perimeter. Now they're pretty similar tools. The poly length is going to have your individual segment labels on by default. And poly length also allows you to apply rise drop. So if you're dealing with electrical, if you're dealing with plumbing and you have vertical pipes or vertical wires, rise drop allows you to apply those vertical elements. But I'm going to use, perimeter today, just because it's a little simpler. I don't need that extra information. So I'm going to left click on that perimeter tool, and now I'm in here. Now perimeter, we're going to use a similar method of kind of clicking those points. So I'm going to click them here, and you're going to see that, again, I have that dynamic information on my cursor. So I'm going to just kind of click the points, and then I don't want to cover over here because it's just perimeter, so I'm going to double click to finish it off. And now I have that measurement there. So I'm going to hit escape to hop out of it once again. I'm going to click on that measurement there, and now I can get to, again, modifying my properties. So again, I place my measurement, I hit escape if I'm ready to hop out of it, and then I can get to customizing it. And again, to finish it off, I can double click, or I can actually hit enter to end placing that perimeter measurement. So I'm going to get to customizing it. I'm going to change that subject. I'm going to change this to base, and I'm going to set that label to wood. I'm going to change my line color. We're going to change it to a dark blue to really see the difference. We're going to change the lining. We're going to change that to blue as well. We're going to make that line weight a little bit bigger so we can see it nice and clear. And we have, again, that same option of changing our units. We could also change the caption of that as well. We also do, again, we want to add this tool to our tool chest. We're going to right click, go to that add tool chest, my tools, and we can double click this again to get it in properties mode to be able to use it. Now, the first time you use a tool chest, you might not know how to get to this layout. By default, the tool chest is in symbol mode, but I change it to detail mode for doing takeoffs, just because it allows me to see the subject and the label in a little more detail. So I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to get to placing that perimeter in that wooden base in this office as well. So again, I can just left click once I've added a tool in, and I can click my points to apply that as well. Again, the tool set really allows me to nicely reuse all of the tools that I've already customized, and in just a little bit, I'll show you the awesome sorting options. Now, the nice thing with changing the label or changing the units up here is that this information, I can get more or less information, and it's going to kind of stack that information. So if I want to apply the depth and the wall area, again, it's going to kind of change these. I haven't applied a depth, it's not going to show, but it's going to basically stack this information up here. So again, I can choose to see more or less information to keep things clearer or to get more info. So once I've placed my measurements, as I mentioned before, they're all going to be down here in this markups list. So if I click on this, again, it's just like another panel. I can click on this and I can get some information here. I'm going to close out of this tool chest just so we can see a little more of my drawing. And I'm going to pull this up a little bit. So by default, the markups list is going to sort by subject, and that's why we set a subject, is so we have that option of sorting things. So now we see that it's sorting by my base, my flooring, and the length that I used to ensure my calibration was correct. And just like we pointed out on Mondays, if I click on any of these markups, it's going to highlight them. And the nice thing with the markups list is that I have kind of control over my columns. So I can come up here to this markups list and I can turn off or on a column. I'm going to turn on the measurement column just to show you the awesome thing about the measurements, and that I can get an individual measurement for each of these, but I can also keep a rolling tally. The markups list allows me to keep a ongoing tally of every time I place a measurement. It's going to keep calculating those amounts, so that if I were to place more flooring, it would add that up and give me a total of all of my flooring. I can also click on any of these and sort by them. So I can click on that label and I can sort instead by label. So if I had multiple different types of flooring, it would give me a total for each individual type. So it would give me a total for just my carpet, it would give me a total for just my tile, just my concrete. So again, setting a subject and setting a label allows you to sort really nicely and get all of this information. Now I also have this flooring column. And this is a custom column that I set up myself. But the nice thing with the custom columns is they allow you to employ a lot of advanced strategies. Now custom columns are again more of an advanced tool, and they're going to be up here in this markups list, and you go to columns and go to manage columns. But again, that's more of an advanced feature. But once you have them in, they allow you to apply things. So for example, I can double click on this flooring column and I'm going to make that a little bigger, my apologies. I can double click on that flooring column and I can apply carpet to it, and I can apply a price that I've set. And so I can then start doing calculations, and I can actually have it calculate the cost of my project here in Revu. Now, once I have all this information in here, I might want to export that information. And throughout the week, we've shown you a couple different summary options. And then right here, it's in that markups list, this little icon kind of to the right. If I click on this option to run a summary report, I'm going to left click on this, and I have the option of running a CSV summary. And we know a lot of people, it's important to have that takeoff information in Excel. So you're going to click that CSV to put it in Excel. Click that CSV summary. You're going to get some information up here. This is where you're going to basically pick the information to filter and sort out. A lot of information that you can set up here, but I'm just going to click OK to quickly show you what that CSV report looks like. It's going to start Excel, and you can see that it has basically all the information from this markups list that is now in Excel. So I have my subject, my label, my page label. I don't have any status, but I have that. I have the author myself. I have the measurement, and I have the measurement units, and I have that one item I set in the flooring. So again, the markups list allows you to kind of get all that information, to have that those running tallies, and eventually to be able to export it should we need. So I have 1 minute left, so we're going to hop back into things very, very quickly. Thanks for sticking with me today. So we have a minute left. Thanks for coming on with us. We recognize that if we had to move through things quickly, if you're looking for a deeper dive, please check out our training options. If you're looking for something, you can reach out to us at training@bluebeam.com. We have self-paced and instructor-led training. If you're looking for yourself or your company as a whole, we encourage you to reach out to us. We're going to keep this webinar open for another few minutes. If you any more questions coming in, that my awesome team will help you answer. If you're done with this, when you're ready to hop out, when you hit escape and leave the webinar, a survey is going to pop up, and we would really appreciate if you were to fill that out. It just takes 30 seconds, and it gives us some awesome information. We put these courses together at a moment's notice to try to get them out to you, given the chaos of the current situation. And so if you could give us that feedback, we would absolutely appreciate it. We do appreciate you hanging out with us this Friday morning. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for spending some time with us. Please join us on Monday for the markup basics. My apologies. And if you're ready to be done with us, have a lovely Friday. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for engaging with the endless question of, is a hot dog a sandwich? Thank you so much, and have a lovely weekend.